Aloha and welcome back. This is Natasha. So today I'm going to be using the Spellbinders small and large dies of the month for September 2019. This one is called Ikaboo, and I just took all of the dies that came in that small kit and I just cut a ton of pieces out. I just did a whole bunch and I didn't know what I was going to use, so just wanted to have the options to have a bunch of them. So I took this pattern paper, and it's actually a Christmas pattern paper. It's a piece that I had in my scrap pile. So all these cards, this is like one of my favorite things to do with dies and cards is paper piecing, taking all of my scrap papers, whatever pieces I have, and then combining them all together in either the dies or just on my card in general. So here you're gonna see that I'm just inking around the edges of this pattern paper. I'm gonna be using 4 different types of distress oxides. I used a Stormy Sky first, which you really don't need to use because it didn't really do anything. Faded Jeans, Seedless Preserves, and then I'm gonna top it off with Black Soot. I'm using my distress brush here, and I'm just going to be trying to leave the middle of or the center of the card lighter, and just trying to blend all of it together and leaving the center light. Okay, I'm going to bring in the Black Soot. Oh, actually I wanted to blend between the two colors and bring that darker Faded Jeans color more in towards the center. And I am working on a glass mat, so I am tapping my brush off on the side and then picking up any extra ink off of the glass mat and bringing it onto my project. Okay, and then I'm going to be bringing in the Black Soot. And the Black Soot, I'm just going to concentrate more just on the outer edges. I'm not too concerned about that I'm using the same brush too. I only have one brush, one distress brush, so I'm not too concerned about it. I just wiped it off on a towel, and it's basically the same, kind of the same color family, so I'm not too concerned. Okay, and then I took that piece, cut it down with the wonky stitch die. I splattered some black shimmer splatters onto the paper. It kind of came out, I went a little crazy and splattered a lot, but it comes out super cute at the end. Okay, so here I'm taking pattern papers and scrap papers, and I just cut out some of the grassy border die and some of the hillside border die cuts, and I'm just going to be layering them for my grass and scene on the card. I'm adding liquid adhesive. I'm going to be placing that at the bottom of my panel here, and then adding the other grassy border on the bottom as well. Okay, and now that my panel is pretty much ready, I'm going to start deciding on my little characters. And so these characters come in the die set for the Spellbinders die kit. I'm going to be just adding on this little ghost I cut out with some white shimmer cardstock and then some black scrap paper. I'm just adding the little ghost legs. I'm just going to be putting these characters together with liquid adhesive. And then there's the little arms. I really like the there's all these little pieces to make them look really cute. Adding on all these little, the arms and the legs and the shoes and what have you, so that's super cute. So here's another one of the dies that came in the kit. I cut this one out of some black shimmer cardstock. That's the body, and then I have the little headpiece. I cut out some yellow, like a scrap piece of yellow cardstock for the hair. Adding liquid adhesive, I'm just going to put that at the top part there, and then I'm going to be putting the little die cut for the little guy's face on the inside of that. With a little more liquid adhesive. I believe this guy's going to be a little skeleton. So I'm going to put him, the rest of his little costume, his little body together. Okay, and there's my little guys. And I did adhere them already to my card front. I put the little stripes on the little ghost socks there. And I also took it comes with die cut pumpkin pails. And so I glued that to my characters. And then I'm just adding a couple of gold sequins to put into the little buckets or pails to make it look like they have stuff inside, candy or what have you, treasures. And then the sentiment is it also comes in the die set. It comes with a bunch of letters. I think it's supposed to spell Ikaboo, and I just took the boo part with the exclamation point. Okay, and that's basically it. I'm just gonna adhere that with a little bit of some double stick it adhesive and put that onto my card base, and then add a little bit of Wink of Stella to the inside of the pumpkin pails, so it's got a little shimmer. And then that's it, guys. That's the first card for this kit. Cute. Okay, let's move on to the second card. So this one I wanted to have, ignore the little ghost that's going to be following us through this whole clip of the video, or through this whole card. I wanted to make it like two little girls trick-or-treating together, but it didn't come together the way I wanted it to. So here I already put together my little girl here, and she's wearing a white glittered outfit. I put a gold unicorn horn on the top of her head, and then here I just cut out a bunch of the little, they have this little tail. I think it's for like the devil costume, which I took that and I just made little tails, or cut these little tail pieces out and in different colors, so kind of like the rainbow. I went from a light yellow to a darker yellow all the way to the blues, and I just added some double stick adhesive on the back and attached a tail to her little costume. Okay, so here's a panel, and I did basically the same kind of inking with the faded jean, sealers preserves, and the black soot, and then I just stamped on with a little bit of white embossing powder. The sentiment says, "Hope your Halloween is frightfully sweet." Cut out some borders, hillside border dies, and I just inked it with a little bit of black soot, and I'm going to be adding that to the bottom part of my panel. And again, these are all using scrap papers. So this little pink hillside borders is cut out of, if you can actually, if you look closely, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit, it's kind of blurry, but I'll fix that. And if you do look closely, those little pink hills are actually Christmas trees. It's from a Christmas cardstock that I have, and I did go and cut out some little trees with the same pink cardstock and some leftover black cardstock I had in my stash as well. I'm just going to be adding some trees on the background with some liquid adhesive. And I put 3 of them on. And I did add the little girl's hands and her pink boots. And her hair is super cute. It comes from this one cardstock. It's kind of like an ombre. So it goes from a light pink on one side to a dark pink on the other side. Okay, I'm going to be adding my card panel to my card base. It's a bright pink card base in the back, and I'm just going to be adding my panel on with a little bit of double stick adhesive, and just using my adhesive remover to remove some of the glue that was left over on the card panel. So I'm just going to be gluing her down with a little bit of liquid adhesive right there, and that's going to call it for that card as well. I'm just going to try to see if you can see all the shimmer and sparkle. Her little pumpkin pail is with the same black cardstock for the little skeleton boy on the first card. Okay, so let's move on to the large die. This one is called Game of Gnomes. This one's really cute. I cut all the pieces out. So I have a ton of pieces all over my desk. And like I said, I'm using up my scraps. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So you'll just see lots of different textures, different pattern papers. And what I like to do is take some distress inks or distress oxides or any kind of ink actually, and I like to blend on a little bit of color just for that little bit of pop and a little bit of dimension on the dies, since there is a lot of texture going on and patterns from the papers. So here I'm just adding a little bit of a vintage photo and just trying to darken up the edges of this piece here. I'm gonna also take the vintage photo and I'm gonna ink up. Look at all that dimension on that. And it does, the die for that specific piece of the mushroom does actually emboss those little lines. Okay, so I'm gonna use the same ink, the vintage photo. I'm gonna be adding that to the tops of the mushrooms. And you can see here, I just wanted to show you the comparison. Just adding that little bit really does wonders for the pieces. So I did that to all of the mushroom tops and the mushroom bottoms. I just added vintage photo to all of it. And then with the grass, some pieces I cut out of a text printed pattern paper, and some I cut out of like a green color, and I just added some green ink to those pieces of the grass as well. Okay, so I'm going to be putting together my mushroom with just some liquid adhesive. All right, and then I'm going to add that little under piece for the mushroom. Pretty simple to put them together, not very complicated at all. And they do have like instructions on the back of the die set. On the back part they have all the instructions on, you know, what pieces go where. Like this little tiny thin red piece that I cut out, it'll tell you exactly where it goes. Okay, so that red piece, that little piece I want it to be, it's kind of the same cardstock, the same red cardstock, but I want it to be a little bit darker, so I just added more of the vintage photo. And then I'm gonna add the little stem there. Okay, and then this piece and this mushroom's done. I'm gonna put together the little small mushrooms there as well. And actually in this card, this the third card that I'm making, I only used that big mushroom, but just putting everything together. I didn't know where I was going with any of my card designs, so I just put everything together. Okay, so there's a little acorn. I'm gonna pick her up and show you that I did do some of the vintage photos, so it gives it a little extra. I did that to the little squirrel as well. And here is my little gnome. Gnome is super cute and really adorable. And sorry if you hear a bunch of noise. My husband is walking around in the back doing stuff in the yard. So okay, so here's another piece of scrapped pattern paper, and I just took some faded jeans. Was it faded jeans? I just blended on some of that at the top. I did hit it with some shimmer mist. Yes, faded jeans. I hit it with some shimmer mist to give it a little bit of shimmer. And then I'm gonna take this, that actually is a Christmas pattern paper as well, believe it or not. I'm gonna take this, it's a cloud border die from Lawn Fun, I believe. And I'm gonna cut that out. And I used a little bit of vintage photo, and I'm gonna be placing that onto my card panel with liquid adhesive. Okay. There's my white card base. I'm going to be attaching everything. So I took this little sentiment, it's Love You Mush, and it comes from a Spellbinders Getting All Mushy. So it's a Spellbinders set, and I just took the little sentiment from there. It's another mushroom set I have. And I'm going to be using this bold banner from Mama Elephant. Cut that out of some black cardstock, and I'm just going to be doing some white heat embossing of the sentiment on the banner. Okay, so there's like these little pieces that you can fold on the side to give it some dimension. Okay, so here I'm going to be just placing everything down onto my card front. So I got the big mushroom, which kind of hangs over my card, but I'm gonna trim off any excess hanging over. So I'm going to put my placement here. Sorry, it's a little off out of the frame there. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the same with my little gnome. I'm going to add some liquid adhesive on him as well and place him there. Oh, before I do that, what you can't see me doing is I'm trying to put the little pieces of grass. Just adding a little bit of something, a little bit of pop. Okay, so I'm going to add another piece of the little grass to the right hand side, and I'm going to place the little gnome on top of that little pile of grass. It was really fun to like stack this little gnome with all the little tiny pieces of cardstock. It's a little tedious, but it's well worth it because that little guy is super cute. And you know, if you have a night where just listening to some music or watching a show, you could slap this little guy together and with all of his little parts. Super cute. Okay, so a little blade of grass there, and then I'm gonna be mounting my sentiment strip. I did that with I did 2 layers of foam adhesive and then a little bit of liquid adhesive on the little flaps on the side. And making sure that it is the right side up. And I'm just gonna try to place that in the center as much as possible. Okay, and then I'm gonna trim off the little bit of the mushroom that's hanging over. Perfect. I love it, it's so cute. And then I did decide that I wanted something extra. I was gonna stop, but oh geez, sorry, my husband decided to blow some leaves. And I'm gonna add a little bit of sequins, some clear sequence around a couple of specific places on this card. Okay, and then that's basically it. That's it for the 3 cards that I did with this card kit. And I'm just going to be putting up some still shots of the 3 cards that I created with the Spellbinders Die of the Month kits. It was super fun to play with this, and like I said, this is like one of my favorite techniques to do on a card, is use up all those scrap pieces, because you know that we all have those scrap pieces that you just don't want to throw away because you feel like you could possibly use it somewhere. There it is. So as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Please hit that like button if you liked what you saw. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you can follow me on Instagram and Wong Yuen. And yeah, I will catch you on the next video. Mahalo for watching.